say early part of 1990. Our first gig was in my apartment at the Mariners Wharf apartment complex, Orange Park, Florida, just outside of NAS in Jacksonville. A couple of the guys in the squadron had guitars, and I went and purchased a drum set that I don't think I had at the time, because I didn't take my drums with me from up north. So just set up a kit in the apartment. I lived on the second floor apartment, which was not good for my downstairs neighbors.
Crusher and I met at SEER school, and as we talked, we figured out that we both were going to VP56, and somehow we started talking about music and had a lot of the same tastes. And he said he sang, played the drums, and I said, well, I'm kind of a hack on the guitar. Maybe we could put something together. And then we met Jack, who was, I think, a rag class or two ahead of us, and we started screwing around at Crusher's apartment. And then when we got to the squadron, we met Soj, who was a pretty accomplished musician, and decided he would buy a piece of crap bass and help us out, and it started from there.
Excited and surprised to find that we had several members of the squadron who had experience playing in bands before. We were all young and single, and it was certainly a time as we traveled overseas to be grateful to have a distraction. And the squadron was supportive, carried our gear over. I'll never forget the first time we played in the Brass and Nut, some Stone song, and I think there were two people in the room, and it was the most terrified I've ever been, just to actually open your mouth and sing in front of anyone.
First song was Johnny Be Good, I think.
Some Johnny Be Good in you right now? Yeah, he does.
He's got the goods.
He's got the goods.
Until college that I first started to be exposed to alternative or modern rock. High school for me was the origins of MTV, probably Van Halen, AC/DC. And in college I got turned on to sort of the alternative college radio influences of REM, Smithereens. I think that even Elvis Costello, from a melodic and vocal perspective, sort of shaped what I was into at the time we began. And bringing that sensibility to traditional blues-based rock made for a nice juxtaposition.
The thing that really stands out that I remember is Jack brought the Beeper Lady, which was more acoustic, Jimmy Buffett sounding, and unfortunately with everything I play it comes out sounding like Keith Richards has a hand in it, so it got a little faster and it had a little bit more crunch in it. But the one thing that I remember that the most, as you would say, the most epic, I use that word because I don't ever use that word, but the most epic moment I think in the very beginning is I used to screw around with the slide on Freebirds.
Oh yeah.
We would always stop when it got to the fast part. We were at Andy Sabula's house after breaking and entering to get a place to jam, and we played it. Crusher sang the song. It actually sounded really good, and then I stopped, and Crusher and Soj and Jack kept going on the chords, and Crusher looked at me and goes, keep playing, and I said, I can't play that. And he goes, sure you can. And we jammed, and it, you know, it was no Leonard Skinner, but it was serviceable in it.
It's Rolling Stones, Van Halen, definitely.
You know, as a child of the 70s, I'd have to say Kiss Rock and Roll Over really was the record that made me conscious of electric guitars and strutting rock stars. Keith then brought the Stones, Goose brought a little electronica, and I think for me it was performance-based hard rock.
Chris, can you tell us a little bit about this guitar?
This guitar is a late 90s studio my wife bought for me after I got out probation at Delta. It was my present. She gave it to me Christmas 1998. And since I'm such a big Betty Page fan, it was black and shapely. It's nicknamed the Betty.
Hold that still for a second. So Betty is with you whenever you're playing that.
Right there.
Everybody who's into music has the things that they pick out of a song that are the most prominent to them. I love guitar, and so for me, when I hear a song, what I hear is the melody and the lead vocal and the guitar. Those are the two things I hear. The rhythm section really almost disappears for me. Yeah. But some people, I have a friend who will describe a song and he'll say, you know, it's that song that goes, where the bass line goes, do 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 do, and I just have no idea. And
I'll take a look at this portable Marshall stack we got going on over here. Yes, that's it.
I've never been a guitarist, but I always pick the guitar out of a song.
Me too.
I pick guitar and drums out.
Okay, well, so I will be the guy who balances this out, because what I like about music
if we had a killer bass player,
is
I think we'd have absolutely done.
I'm really key on bass line, tight with drums, so that they're really tight foundation, and then I have to admit I like songs with interesting chord structures. So when I think about music and hit a song that I like, it's like we were listening to a Foo Fighters song a little while ago that I'd never heard before, and they took it in a place where I wasn't expecting, that was good, and so then that's a song that I want to hear again, and that was what makes it for me.
It's done as a joke now, because one day we were just sitting around drinking and playing, and I just said, I wish I had a really cool guitar player nickname like Dave the Bottle Pierce of Foghat. And Jackson goes, from now on your Delta Talkai name is Slider. And that's where it came from. I think he said it originally in the early days to mock me, but
but it stuck.
It's Slider.
I think it's noticeable to me that Slider plays every day and the rest of us don't.
That comes out a little bit.
He's definitely evolved and grown the most. I think Crusher continues to be the spiritual center of the band, and Goose is probably the childish enthusiasm. So it's been fun. I'm really surprised that we were able in just a few minutes to get to the point of having musical connection and even vocal connection, which is miraculous. Do you have formal training? Did you take piano lessons?
I have 3.5 years of piano lessons, which in some ways probably screwed me up, because learning to read every 16th note of classical music changes how you perceive music. So I've spent 2 decades unlearning some of that so that I can be a more flexible, go with the flow musician and hear stuff and
move from the technical to the visceral.
That's right. So I think it's good to have both, but I think the faster. I mean, look at Edge or some of the other amazing musicians. They never read music, and they're amazing.
Need new batteries.
Well, this weekend we got the Foo Fighters, so I've been playing a lot of the Foo Fighters. Rolling Stones and Van Halen are always in heavy rotation for me. Some like newer bands that I've been listening to. Cage the Elephant.
A return to roots with Americana music. I've really had an enjoyment of simplistic storytelling. Bands like the Abbott Brothers. Always been a huge fan of Cracker, Camping and Beethoven.
Pretty good slice of 80s metal between Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, and a lot of Ozzy, early Black Sabbath. Boston's always in there, heavy rotation.
Oh, yeah.
Journey, which rocks. Let's see else. There's a band from New Orleans that I was big into called Zebra. I don't know if you guys have ever heard them.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
They started out as a Zeppelin cover band, 3-piece, one of the best 3-pieces you'll ever hear outside of Rush. And since my son is into Rush right now, Rush is heavy all the time in my truck. He has his own Rush disc and
Sweet.
he loves Red Barchetta's his favorite. And the other favorite song is Xanadu.
It's been a big surprise. We haven't played together but once in a decade, and maybe 2 decades. So it's been surprising and a lot of fun that the old magic was still there. We were never.
One word. Epic. Doughboy's vibe.
Doughboy's
was a
vibe.
great time in my life. I will always look back on it fondly. That's why I like getting together with the guys every once in a while, just to kind of relive that vibe. And it's all good.